ॐ श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवत् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः Who would like to chant? Krishna. Yeah, Sudha Satish. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, done.
Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Uvacha
Aparam Bhavato Janma
Aparam Bhavato Janma
Param Janma Vivasvataha
Param Janma Vivasvataha
Kathametad Vijaniyam
Katametat Vijaniyam
Tvamadau Proktavaniti
Tvamadau Proktavaniti
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Bahuni me vyatitani
Bahuni me vyatitani
Janmani tava charjuna
Janmani Tavacharjuna
तान्यहं वेद सर्वाणि
तान्यहं वेद सर्वाणि
न त्वं वेत्थ परन्तप
न त्वं वेत्त परन्तप
अजोऽपि सन्नव्ययात्मा
अजोऽपि सन् अव्ययात्मा
भूतानामीश्वरोऽपि सन्
भूतानाम् ईश्वरोऽपि सन्
प्रकृतिं स्वामधिष्ठाय
प्रकृतिं स्वामधिष्ठाय
सम्भवाम्यात्ममायया
सम्भवाम् आत्म्यमायया
यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य
यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य
ग्लानिर्भवति भारत
ग्लानिर्भवति भारत
अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य
अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य
तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्
तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्
परित्राणाय साधूनां
परित्राणाय साधूनां
विनाशाय च दुष्कृताम्
विनाशाय च दुष्कृताम्
धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय
धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय
संभवामि युगे युगे.
संभवामि युगे युगे.
Yeah. So am I audible? Yeah. So Krishna started explaining the his birth, so to speak, his coming into being uh, as Krishna, as Mr. Krishna. And then in the last shloka, in verse number 7, he talked about how whenever there is a rise in adharma and decline in dharma, I I make myself born. I come into being. That is what he says. So clearly that shows that this birth is different. It's based on it's not like a jiva's birth. We saw all that last class, and it's a special birth. And then in the next shloka, number 8, he's going to elaborate on that. And he gives in this shloka, he gives three reasons for his birth, or three purposes. There are threefold reasons why he is born. Avatara, he or she, doesn't have to be he. It can be any form. So form can be any. It can be a male or a female. But the Dashavataras, it looks like, from Matsya Avatara it comes. So it can be any form, can be any gender. Ishwara's birth can be of any form. We saw that. Okay. So now here, three reasons are given. First reason is Sadhunam Paritranaya. Sadhunam Paritranaya. For the protection of Paritranaya, for the well-being of, for the protection of. Tra means to protect. And Paritra, complete protection of. He doesn't say protection of people. He says Sadhunam Paritranaya. Sadhunam. Protection of sadhus means protection of people who are committed to Dharma. So basically, Not everybody in society needs protection. There are some people who need protection, and so he's referring to such people, and they are sadhus because they are committed to dharma. They're all, and they in a society like Indian society, there are Vedic pandits, Vaidikas, who are purely committed to the to the study and propagation of the Vedas. They have nothing else to do in their life, and they're not going to go invest money in the stock market, look for returns 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%. No, they're not going to do anything like that. And they are called sadhus. Okay, in this shloka, Krishna is referring to them as sadhus. Okay, that is one purpose. Second purpose, dushkritam cha vinashaya. Dushkritam, krita, people who do things. What kind of things? Dushkritam, people who are committed to adharma. They cause harm. Those who cause harm. And what about them? Vinashaya, for their destruction, he says. And then third purpose is dharma samsthapanarthaya. Dharma samsthapanarthaya. So, samsthapanam, establishment of dharma, and more appropriately, re-establishment of dharma. Because dharma is known, it was established. It's not like dharma did not exist. So, re-establishment of dharma, bringing dharma back to be to the mainstream. That is the threefold purpose he talks about. So, protection. Suppose you're a scientist and you love science, you enjoy it, you think that everybody should learn science, and so you want to do something. What do? What does such a person do? Well, the person can teach math, physics, chemistry, biology, etc., any of the sciences, and can teach to people and share that knowledge. Sharing the knowledge becomes important. Now, can libraries protect dharma? Well, well, we know our Takshashila library, the first library ever, or Nalanda, better example. Nalanda, the greatest library the world saw in those days, and burnt completely, razed to the ground. So if you think a library is a symbol of dharma, then we have to think again, because a library can be destroyed. So how do you protect dharma? Okay, so how do you protect science? Well, the only way to protect science is to learn it and teach it. That is the main way. Of course, we need libraries. Of course, we need universities, we need schools. But first and foremost, you must live the science that you want to protect. Correct? You must be the science that you want to protect. Protect music. How do you protect music? Classical music has to be protected because it's sacred and it's our culture. It's a part of our culture. How do you protect it? Well, the best way to protect it is to learn the music. Correct? That's the best way to protect. No, I missed my opportunity, and so I what do? Well, of course, then there are so many options. You sponsor people, teach, you sponsor organizations which teach music to children, and even underprivileged children. You might say, they also should learn music. Why only those who can afford, so many thousands of rupees a month, like that? You might say. So that's a way to protect music and protect the Vedas. How do you protect the Vedas? So today they are not able to get children who want to pursue the study of Vedas, and even the children of Vedic Pandits are not able to, are not getting into they themselves want to do something else. Because, because the Vedic people suffer, apparently. So the father or mother might think, I don't want my children to suffer like us. I want them to lead a better life. And if that is the case, that means we are really not protecting the Vedas. And so we have to protect it first and foremost by studying the Vedas and practicing it. And that is the primary way. The secondary way is to support the people who practice the Vedas. So how do you support Dharma? You support the Dharmi. You be Dharmic, number one, and then you support the people who are committed to Dharma. That is the only way to support Dharma. Writing books on Dharma will not support it. Need not protect Dharma. Need not. Primary purpose. That's what we're talking about. So here also, Dharma can be protected only by being a Dharmi. By being that Dharma, then Dharma is protected. And so here also, the same idea has to be brought in. And the culture we live in, any society, doesn't matter. So the culture we live in, somebody called me and he wanted to interview me. Let me explain this first. Culture. So there is a culture. The culture of India is different from the culture of America, which is different from the culture of Europe, etc. We know these things. We see these things. But then the culture is really the people of the country. The people of the culture are the one that makes you say the culture is different. You can't say there is a temple and that is culture. Even though a temple is a manifestation of our culture, if nobody goes to the temple, you know what they will say? 100 years from now, 200 years from now, they will say, look at this monument. It's a United Nations, UNESCO preserved monument. Do you want the temple to become a UNESCO preserved monument? I hope not. I hope not. It can be recognized by UNESCO and all that, that is fine. But people should be going to the temple, and that's when the culture is manifest. Otherwise, it becomes a museum piece, it becomes an antique, it becomes a monument. And we don't call our temples as monuments, even though somebody else may call it as a monument. For us, it's part of the culture. So the practice of our Dharma cannot be separated from the Dharma. The Dharmi is so important. The important part of the equation is the Dharmi. And so Swamiji says the religion and culture cannot be separated from the people. So somebody called me to interview. They said, I heard your talks, it was good and all that, I want to interview. And then I said, what do you want to talk about? He's doing a lot of good work, and he's providing education opportunities for children. He's educating people on various topics, and how, for example, stress management stress in modern life, whether it is children or for adults. And then he talks about other problems of technology and how parents should deal with it, and children, etc. He gave a big list of things. Doing good work. Now, that's why he brings in experts, and he says, one aspect I'm weak in is culture. He says, I don't understand our culture that well. I said, okay. Then we talk. And then I slowly understand that this person's audience, and then he says, I want you to talk about our culture without getting into religion. Then I probe him some more, And then he says, my audience is all secular audience, And then, so they don't want to hear about God and all that. So without God, talk about your culture. So now you can understand the problem, right? You can understand the problem. So I was patiently listening, and I understood his dilemma very well. And so you talk about the culture without talking about God. Okay, we can do that. Once or twice we can do that. How long can I talk about our culture without talking about Rama and Krishna? You please tell me. So I told him that, hey, if you want to talk about our culture is called a Vedic culture. Our Vedic people, when they get up in the morning, they do worship Surya. They worship Surya. Do you want me to talk about that or not? Or do you want me to talk about our culture without any Ramayana, without any Mahabharata? This is what I asked him. And so we had a long conversation on the phone one day. And I gave him so many examples. And then philosophy is also there. Yes, we should talk about philosophy. So suddenly they latch on to philosophy. Philosophy is good because you don't need all this God business and all that. You don't need. It's a nice thing to latch on, philosophy. So I said, yeah, philosophy is also there. And I gave him examples of how Ishwara comes into philosophy also. That's what is unique about our Dharma. What's unique is our culture, our religious culture has a lot of philosophy in it. If you ask me to take the philosophy out of this culture and talk about philosophy, what about all these things? What about everything that is left? What about all the puja and prarthana and all that? What about the homa that Vajasravas is doing and Nachiketa? Nachiketa is asking a great question to Yama. But what about Yama Devata? What about all the rituals they are doing? Should I just not talk about all this? So where we left the conversation was, I told him to think about it a little more and let's talk again later. That's what I told him. So this dilemma is there. And so you can't separate the people. God, put God in that room, put the culture in this room. You stay in that room. Okay, how about that? That I want that kind of thing. Can't do that. I really told him this. If you want me to talk about my culture with taking away all these things, then I am telling you right now, you are talking to the wrong person. I am not looking for an interview, and I don't want to spoil your interview, and I don't want to disturb your audience and let your audience be with you. This is what I told him. I want you to be clear where I stand, because I don't want at the end of the interview you are scratching your head and you want to delete the video, afterwards. And so I don't want you to be in that position. This is what I told. So this dharma, so important. Dharma, this is why sometimes we have these arguments outside that you try to squeeze something out of our dharma and then present all these so-called secular aspects. We have a very funny idea of secularism in India, my God, and we got to change that. And beautiful article somebody wrote about in Germany, there is a Christian Democratic Party. Okay, they are considered a secular party, Christian Democratic Party. But in India, the Bharatiya Janata Party is a fundamentalist party, right wing. They are all right wing people. So this is all this confusion that is there. They wrote a beautiful article and said, hey, the Bharatiya Janata Party compared to Republicans are conservatives in America. This BJP, everything they did, they're all doing it for everybody. Program after program after program. And so they compare, BJP is more secular than Republican Party. He makes a case for it. So that dharma has to be protected, and we can't play games with this. And that Vedic culture is so important. Every culture is important, and Vedic culture as well. And so here samsthapanam, protection. So there is a phrase that is used: Shishta rakshanam, dushta shikshanam. Shishta rakshanam. Rakshanam means protection. Shishta rakshanam means protection of those who are following the Shastra. Shishta Purushaha means those who are Vedic, who are Vedic Pandits. They are basically following the Vedas. They are called Shishtas. And Shishta Rakshanam means protection of the Vedikas. And the dushta shikshanam. Shikshanam means teaching, okay? Teaching whom? Dushtas, the people who are adharmic people, people who don't want to follow dharma, people who are just bro-beating, going around, just as they say in Tamil Nadu, they just go around. You see all these videos these days. The man just has a big arival. Arival means what? I don't know what you call it. It's a big knife, okay? It's a knife that is used in the farm and things like that. He walks around and then goes to the stores and then say, you do this to me and do that to me. And just threaten all these people. And because they belong to some political party. So they are called dushtas. Dushta shikshana. Dushta shikshana. So here when he says vinashaya, what word he is using? Dushkritam cha vinashaya, when he says, it does not literally mean destroying, physically destroying the people. It means you shikshana, you convert, you educate the person, or you punish the person and tell him you're following adharma. Following adharma. Like yesterday, the satsang the other day, Anjali was talking about the people who are serial killers and they cannot but kill. That's it. Killing is the only thing they know how to do. How do you deal with these people? You got to punish them and you've got to incarcerate them. You have to be creative. We got to use our mind and do something. And so minimum incarcerate, minimum jail. After that, we will see what else to be done. So that is called dushkritam cha vinashaya. and and there is a process. How do you do that? So we saw this some time ago. So Tyagaraja Kriti, Sarasa Samadana Veda Danda Chatura. Right? So Tyagaraja praising the Rama, saying, hey Rama, you are such a great person and you know how to take care of people. And even the people who abuse dharma like Ravana and Sama, you first negotiate with them, you bring peace by just talking. Then otherwise, Sarasa Dana, Sama Dana. Dana means okay, fine, you take what you're asking for. And in this case, of course, you've taken away Sita. So you need to return her back to me. And then Bheda. Bheda means some kind of a striking, some kind of a deal. Like in Mahabharata. Mahabharata, you can give this example easier. Dana means, okay, take away everything. And then Bheda means what? Okay, give the Pandavas at least 5 villages. Five counties, and you should give at least that. No, 5 houses, not even 5 houses. So Bheda, Sama, Dana, Bheda doesn't work. Then what? Finally, Danda. Danda means punish and war. So in Ramayana also, Rama gives a chance to Ravana. Correct? We hear that in the story. Indru poi nalaiva. You go home today. Come back tomorrow. Think about it and come back. And there is a discussion about why Rama gave him a chance, etc. So chance is always given because Ravana was a Vedic Pandit. He was a Samavedi. And so Rama thought maybe this man can change, a Vedic Pandit and who plays the Veena and all that cannot be that bad. And there is a time that he or she will change. But it didn't work out, of course. So all that is there. So then, of course, Rama Avtara, there is a purpose for that. And and of course, here in Mahabharata, Tasmad Yudhyasva Bharata, nothing has worked here, Arjuna. We are calling for war. That's what it is. And so that is that is what we read into this shloka. And see, Swami Paramatmanandaji says something interesting. He says, the Brahmanas cannot punish. I'm using the word Brahmana because we all know. In public, I may not use the word Brahmana, okay? And I have to be careful. But now, knowing Brahmana as somebody who's committed to the Vedas, and they can't punish others. Only a Kshatriya can punish others. When you find a problem, generally in society also, when you find a problem with a neighbor or somebody, you report it to the police. You don't directly, although in America, sometimes they take a gun and they have guns, and so they can come with a gun outside. In India, we can't do that. Still, I don't think that culture is there. We're not as advanced as America, so we don't own guns here in India. So, so he says, Brahmanas cannot punish. Somebody beats up the Brahmana can't do anything. Helpless. That is why we saw the shloka the other day. Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nitya. The Brahmana is helpless. Really can't do anything. And he can only pray, he can only chant mantras, and he can call Ishwara out. Hey, come on, help me here. That's all he can do. So there also Brahmanas cannot do. So therefore, Rama is a Kshatriya. Krishna is a Kshatriya. Look at that. Kshatriyas can stand up and say, no, this will not work. We are going to go to war. And a Brahmana cannot declare war because he has nothing to do with war. And he's happy to teach, he's happy to guide the society, but he can't go to war. And so this Rama Avatara and Krishna Avatara is very important for us. Why? Why? Because Rama taught by living a life, just by living, he taught us what Dharma is. Correct? And Krishna taught us, of course, becoming a Jagat Guru, he taught Bhagavad Gita. And so these two avatars are very important. Therefore, we have Rama Navami, we have Janmashtami, Krishna Janmashtami. We don't see something like, Matsya Tritiya or something. Matsya Avatara is there, no? We must have some, we must have some Prathama, Dvitiya, Tritiya, something. No, we don't see Matsya Tritiya. We see Akshaya Tritiya, but not Matsya Tritiya. I still don't know what is Akshaya Tritiya. Don't ask me in satsang, please. What is Akshaya Tritiya? Don't ask me. You please Google and find out. I still haven't figured it out. It seems they must buy gold. These jewelry stores are very excited when they talk about Akshaya Tritiya. And that day you must buy some gold. I don't know. Let God bless everybody. And so there is no Matsya Tritiya. There is no some Kurma Panchami. No, Kurma Avatara, we should, Bhagavan's form is there, we must worship him, right? No, we have not heard anything like that. So only this Rama Navami is there, and Krishna Janmashtami is there, and so very important for us. And so protection of people who Swami Dayanandaji says, those days when you go to Rishikesh, in Rishikesh, people are only sannyasis you could see in Rishikesh. Only sannyasis, period. Why would anybody else go to Rishikesh? That's how it was those days. And even if somebody ran away from home, this running away to Rishikesh, this idea is there. And so somebody gets rejected with family or whatever, and they go off to Rishikesh. Okay. Even that person, when they go to Rishikesh, after some time he will start studying, because everybody is studying in Rishikesh. Everybody is in an ashram studying. So what will you do? You also will join the group and then study eventually. But these days it's the reverse, he says. It's not like that. Even a sannyasi goes to Rishikesh, that fellow gets confused. And that's how bad Rishikesh is. And sannyasi goes there and he just starts smoking. Yeah, everybody is smoking, some bhang or whatever. Or if he's a little more enterprising, he may start some agarbatti factory or an ashram. Sannyasis are not supposed to start all these businesses and sell products and this and that. That's not that's all left to Vaishyas. And ashram cannot do all that. If they are doing it, it means the person is not Vedika. That's it, period. Let them do good business, we will bless them. That's all. Now we love this, what's his name? Patanjali, okay. Because he's pro Dharma. We support him very much. And let him do whatever business he does. He's not doing business, I don't think so. But we love him, okay. So we'll keep him as an exception. Okay? Because Dharma Samsthapanarthaya, we need such people. And he was the only one who stood up from all this tyranny. And so like that, So is it time for Ishwara to come right now, to take an avatara right now in this world or in India or whatever? So Swamiji says, we are having a class right now. I am teaching and I'm not afraid. And you're all listening. There are people to listen to this Bhagavad Gita or Upanishad, whatever. And there is no threat anywhere right now. And so that means it's not time yet. That is what he's saying. And so if a sannyasi has to run for his life, then definitely there is a need for an avatar. That is what he was saying. And so when majority are leading a life of licentiousness, leading a life of convenience, everybody decides, takes the law into their own hands, then we have a problem. Then it is difficult for the remaining 20% to do something good. It's very difficult. So that is the time Ishwara comes into play, comes as an avatara. So let's look at the shloka. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. For the protection of those paritranaya who are committed to dharma, sadhunam paritranaya, for the protection of those who are committed to dharma, and the destruction of, within brackets, conversion of, vinashaya cha, destruction of those who follow adharma, or those who do not follow dharma. That's even better. It's not like somebody follows adharma. Dharma. Do not follow dharma, comma, vinashaya cha dushkritam, and for the establishment of dharma, dharma samsthapanarthaya, for the establishment of dharma, comma, I come into being in every yuga. Sambhavami yuge yuge, aham sambhavami. For the protection of those who are committed to dharma and the destruction of those who follow adharma, comma, and for the re-establishment of dharma, I come into being in every yuga. Yuge yuge, every yuga. So there it doesn't mean that in one yuga, one birth, etc. It means whenever it's needed, I will come. And the need should not be that often. That also is an indication, yuge yuge. Once I come, that will be enough for a long time. And so I will come whenever it is needed. Good. So now, okay. So now this diversion about this parampara, discussion of parampara, imam vibhasvate yogam, that's how this chapter started. And this talk about my birth as an avatara, Krishna talks about, that diversion is coming to an end. And he is going to transition to the topic of this Atmavidya, Brahma Vidya. We will see that in the shloka number 9. Sickle. That thing is called sickle. Sickle also, there is a sickle is thinner. It's a big curve and it's thin. And Aruvalna adu konjam vera. Adu vandu it's much thicker. And then they use it to chop and things like that. Wood and all that they chop with it. And so it's much thicker and heavier. So in that video, I saw that heavier one recently. People getting drunk and then just going around threatening, causing havoc. Anyway, verse number 9. Okay, who would like to be? Vidya, I think, called out last time, right? Yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself. Vidya Parasaram. Okay. Janma karma cha
Janma karma cha
me divyam
me divyam
evam yo veti
evam yo veti
tatvatah
tatvatah
tyaktva deham
tyaktva deham
punarjanma
punarjanma
naiti mameti
naiti mameti
sorjuna
sorjuna
janma karma cha me divyam
janma karma cha me divyam
evam yo veti tatvatah
evam yo veti tatvatah
tyaktva deham punarjanma
tyaktva deham punarjanma
naiti mameti sorjuna.
naiti mameti sorjuna.
So when I spotlight two people, then both you can see both of us, right? Yes, everybody, yeah. Okay. How about the recording? Is the recording also like that? If so, here again, Krishna is referring to his birth, Janma. Shloka starts with the word Janma. So, me Janma, me, the word me means mama, my Janma, my birth. My birth and my karma, my actions, my purpose, the purpose of my birth. Janma karma cha me. My birth and my karma, my actions, my purpose, the purpose of my life, of my birth. Divyam. Divyam. He says, my birth, which is divyam, which is divine, which is not an ordinary birth. And Shankaracharya says, for Janma, Shankaracharya helps us. He says, Maya Rupam Janma. Maya Rupam Janma, right? We saw that last time. Maya is there and then Janma is there. So Maya Rupam Janma. And then karma, the purpose of my life. And there Shankaracharya helps us. He says, Sadhu Paritranadi. Sadhu Paritranadi means already quoting what Krishna said for the protection of Dharmic people, etc. That is what Shankara says. And then this Divyam is divine. We can appreciate that. But Shankara also says Apakritam, not ordinary, and Ishwaryam. Ishwaram, he uses the word Ishwaram. So, really godly, heavenly, something that doesn't happen that often. And that kind of birth of mine, Yaha Veti, one who knows. And how does one know that? Tattvataha. One who knows it in reality, as it should be known. Tattvataha. Tattvam means in the truth of my birth. One who knows the truth of my birth. Like that is referring to in that first line. Okay. So now you understand how important our discussion was. about this Pratibhasika, birth of Krishna, and there is Paramarthika. You can't understand Pratibhasika if you don't know Vyavaharika. You can't understand Vyavaharika if you don't know Paramarthika. Correct? You can understand dream as being a dream only if you know waking state. Otherwise, dream becomes real. Correct? If you say, oh, that was a dream. Why? Because this is waking state. And this is different than that. So I can understand dream if I know waking state. But what about the waking state? Is that absolutely real? You have no proof to say it's absolutely real. Because in dream, you had no proof to say dream was a dream. You can't say. And in dream, you can't say this is a dream. Somebody friend says, hey, come on, my dear friend, you're in a dream. You're dreaming. What will you say? Come on, friend, join this dream. Okay. This is a dream. This is not a dream. Okay. This is real. That's what you're going to say. And run for your life. That's what you will say. So dream can be understood only if the waking state is there. And waking state, you can't prove it to be real. Shastram says it's not absolutely real because there is something called Paramarthikam. Okay. So Krishna is referring to that. And he's saying, Tattvataha yaha veti, the one who knows my birth in reality. So, two ways to have to go. So, in reality, Tattvataha means my birth is pratibhasikam. That is there. That is understood. But that alone cannot help me. Because knowing that Krishna's life was pratibhasikam, how is it going to help me? Because I am the one who has problems. I am the one who wants moksha. I am the one who wants ananda. I am the bhokta. So what if Krishna came and went? Okay, maybe it helped Arjuna and Pandavas. But how is it going to help my life? How is it going to help me? So therefore, we got to go beyond that. Tattvataha. Previous shloka, 2 shlokas ago, ajopi sannavyayatma. Right? Ajopi sannavyayatma. So ajaha. So that which is ajaha, he said ajaha api, even though I am unborn. That word, in the passing, he just said, Krishna said in the passing, ajaha api. Even though I am unborn, I am born. So tell me more, what do you mean by even though I am unborn? So that takes us back to chapter 2. Chapter 2, nasato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha. Like this, all the shlokas we studied in the second chapter from 12 onwards. And so that I am Parameshwara, I am Atma, Avinashi tu tadviddi, yena sarvam idam tatam, vinasham avyayasya, I am Avinashi, I am indestructible, I am Avyaya, I am changeless. I am not subject to any change whatsoever, even though my body is constantly changing. And change is constant, they say. In the corporate world, they say this. Change is constant. And they use that as an excuse to keep on changing. And all these companies constantly change. And because they don't want you to settle down in any one thing. And I'm using this iPhone I've used 5 years, I'm using now. And I'm going to push it even more. I'm going to say, I don't need another iPhone. And now they are going to this app, this Google Pay and all that to pay. And they are now not allowing me to add an account, bank account. And they say you must go to a new software. But the new software I can't because iPhone 5S, it's so many years old and it cannot take any more new versions. So I'm stuck now. If I have to add an account, I have to buy a new iPhone. That's how it has become. New phone or iPhone, whatever. So this is how they make it. Constant change. Yeah. Constantly they want to change. And anyway, even if Apple doesn't change, life is full of change anyway. The word Jagat, as I told you before, refers to change. Jayate gacchati iti Jagat. That which is born and changes, that is what is the definition of our definition of world, Jagat. Okay. So therefore, we have no problem with that change. Change is there. So here, Despite all that change, I am unchanging. That Atma is the unchanging. That is the nature of myself. My true nature is changelessness. I must understand that. And then, but Krishna is not talking about that here. Yo mam veti, he says. Okay. So, yo mam veti tatvatah. One who understand, he says, yo veti tatvatah. Then next line he says, okay, yo veti, my birth who knows well. Means who understands me properly, he says. That is the meaning, right? Me janma yo veti. One who understands my birth means one who understands me. One who understands me. So that means there are two kinds of knowledge here, right? One is the knowledge of Krishna. The other is knowledge of the self that Krishna himself talked about in the second chapter. There are two things now. Two things to know now. Two topics are there. So one is Atmavidya, another is Brahmavidya. Ishwarvidya, right? That is how it is. And so, is that the case? Is that how it is? There are two things to know. And no, there are no two things to know. The wave, if the wave knows its own nature as being water, it is as good as the nature of the entire ocean. The nature of the ocean is water, salty water. The nature of the wave is also salty water. Both are identical. So, Ishwara Jnanam is no different than Atma Jnanam. So, if somebody says, I have understood myself, now I have to understand Ishwara. If somebody says, or if somebody says, Ishwara is understood, but I don't know myself, then Swami Paramarthanandaji says, it is like somebody who says, in the Mayi means this Anjanam. Anjanam. How many of you know what Anjanam is? Anjanam, Rukmini ji and many others, and Prasad, etc. So, Anjanam. So, they used to, the ladies wear this black application in the eyes, under the eyes, and everywhere they put. Those days, it is made from oil, it's a suit of particular oil. And so, that is called Anjanam. And so, somebody says, I know Anjanam. It is white in color, like turmeric powder. I know Anjanam. It is white in color, like turmeric powder. That means what? This fellow doesn't know Anjanam. He doesn't know white from black. He doesn't know what turmeric powder is. So the turmeric powder. Even a person like me, who these days I don't cook at all, but even I can identify turmeric powder. That much knowledge I have. Okay. But this fellow, so Anjana, I think he quoted a Malayalam saying. How many of you know that Malayalam saying? Anjana Mandal. Yeah, go ahead, Girishji. Can you tell us what that is? Unmute yourself.
Anjanam എന്നത് ഞാനറിയും മഞ്ഞളു പോലെ വെളുത്തിരിക്കും.
മഞ്ഞളു പോലെ വെളുത്തിരിക്കും. വെള്ളയാ இருக்கும். So turmeric powder மாதிரி வெள்ளையா இருக்கும். That Anjana. Yeah. So in what context do you use it, Girishji?
Yeah, when we don't know anything, then we claim that we know. The person who doesn't know anything, he claims that he knows everything. That is like this. Anjanam എന്നതു ഞാനറിയും മഞ്ഞളു പോലെ വെളുത്തിരിക്കും.
Exactly. So I have studied all the Upanishads. Everything I've studied. So that means you have, as Chinmayanandaji says, I've gone through all the Upanishads. And Chinmayanandaji asks, okay, you have gone through all the Upanishads. How many Upanishads have gone through you? Okay, that's what I'm reminded of. So, like that, this Atmavidya and Brahmavidya are not two different things. Knowledge of Krishna is not different than knowledge of the self. And so, and I'm reminded of these mantras in Kenopanishad, very beautiful. Yad vajanabhyutitam yena vagabhyudyate ye tadeva tvam vidhi ye nedam yadidam upasate. The teacher says there, Yad vacha anabhyuditam, that which cannot be expressed by words, and that from which the words arise. Okay. Tadeva Brahma tvam vidhi. You must know that Brahma. Okay. Nedam yadidam upasat. Not the things that you worship. You think you are worshipping God, but you are really not worshipping God. You must know, you still have to know that God yet. Nedam yadidam upasat. This is what? The bold statements. Yen manasana manute yenahur manomatam. That which cannot be objectified by the mind, and that which helps the mind objectify, which helps the mind think. Come to know that, hey, Shishya, you must know that. Not get stuck with what you are worshipping. The bold statement it makes, we must be able to handle all this. So, those things come to mind. And so, evam yo veti tattvataha, the one who knows me in reality, Krishna is talking about. And then what? Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. Okay. So what happens? What happens when a person knows all this? Krishna says, Mam eti. Mam eti. And punarjanma tyaktva. Tyaktva punarjanma. That person gives up another birth. That is what it says. Gives up another birth. Okay? Another birth is given up. Means what? The person is not born again. That means what? Person is stuck somewhere, stuck in the middle of this vast ocean, this thing, stuck what? No. Krishna says, Mam eti. Mam eti means that person gains me. Literal meaning of Mam eti. Eti, in gatav. Sanskrit students. Eti. Eti is the verb. In gatav, Dvitiya gana, Adadi gana, Pratama Purusha Ekavachana. Eti. Eti itaha yanti. Yeshi itaha ita. Emi ivaha imaha. It's a verb. In. I. Just the verb is called I. That is the dhatu. Okay. So, Mam eti, he says. So he gains me. That means what is going to be in the like these bacteria that are there in our intestines, in our whole body, like that we'll be another small bacteria in the gut of Ishwara, right? So how nice that would be to be like that. So because there are a lot of beautiful poetry and dohas are there. Why don't I be a small blade of grass under your feet? Like that they, very devotionally they say. It's very beautiful. So like that here also, will I become like that? No. Mam eti. Literally, if we take it, it becomes travel. It becomes like you come to heaven and you reach me. Finally, you will meet me. Krishna@vaikunta.org. Finally, your email has reached me and you also reach me. Email reached is okay. That is good, first step. But then finally, you can also see me. Okay, your appointment, etc. And so, no, it's not like that. Gaining Krishna, gaining Brahma, gaining Ishwara is always in terms of knowledge. Why it's in terms of knowledge? Because we understand what bondage is. Moksha is opposite of bondage. Moksha is supposed to relieve me from bondage. What is bondage? Bondage is not of an external thing. Something else binding me is not there. And knowing what we have studied so far, my ignorance of who I am is bondage. I think I am finite, I am subject to death. That is bondage. That idea, that notion, which is true only of the body, not of Atma, that is bondage. Therefore, gaining Brahma strictly in terms of knowledge of Brahma, Atma. So you know all these things. And so Krishna is using, Swamiji says, Krishna is using Arjuna's question to come back to this Brahma Vidya, like that he says. So we can complete now. Let's translate this shloka. The one who knows in reality, yaha tattvataha vetti. Yo is yaha. Okay? Yo. So yo man, they say. No, yaha, that is it. Yaha tattvataha vetti. The one who knows in reality my divine birth and action. Me janma karma cha. My divine birth and action or life. In this way, evam. In this way that I've told you, evam, comma, Arjuna. Karma, giving up the body, deham tyaktva, giving up the body, deham tyaktva, that person is not born. Punarjanma na eti. Na eti. The word eti comes 2 times in this shloka. Na eti and mam eti. That person is not born again. Not born again. Full stop. He attains me. Saha mam eti. So Arjuna, that so is Saha. Saha mam eti. The one who knows in reality my divine birth and action in this way, comma, Arjuna, comma, giving up the body, comma, that person is not born again. Full stop. He attains me. Literal translation. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.